Hello and welcome to this week's edition of World Today, where we'll discuss the big quadrilateral meeting among foreign ministers of India, Japan, United States of America and Australia. The big focus was how to counter China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific, as also to create resilient supply chains as an alternative to China. The other big story is Kamala Harris and Mike Pence's face-off, how they set the agenda for the campaign ahead, and Afghanistan's Dr. Abdullah's visit to India and the importance Kabul attaches to New Delhi in the role they play in peacemaking. One of the big stories this week was the US vice presidential debate. Now, in a normal election year, it would not have excited many, but with both presidential candidates over 70 years of age, these two become potential candidates to take over the presidency should something happen to the incumbent. And that's why they need to be heard.
That's not an idea.
Everybody in your administration tells you
it was a far more civilized event than last week's presidential debate.
Antifa is
The earlier event was seen to be a cocktail of chaos and cacophony.
Will you shut up? Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
So how did the VP candidates fare? Both Kamala Harris and Mike Pence laid out their party's policies, talked about the pandemic, economy, climate change, and racial unrest, amongst other things.
American lives. So let's talk about caring about the American people. The American people have had to sacrifice far too much because of the incompetence of this administration. It is asking too much of the people.
Susan, we talked about
it is asking too much of the people. That they would not be equipped with the information they need to help themselves to protect
Susan,
their parents and their children.
You know, the reality is when you talk about failure in this administration, we actually do know what failure looks like in a pandemic. It was 2009. The swine flu arrived in the United States. Thankfully, it ended up not being as lethal as the coronavirus. If the swine flu had been as lethal as the coronavirus in 2009, when Joe Biden was vice president, we would have lost 2 million American lives. The progress that we have made in a cleaner environment has been happening precisely because we have a strong free market economy. You know, what's remarkable is the United States has reduced CO2 more than the countries that are still in the Paris Climate Accord, but we've done it through innovation. And we've done it through natural gas.
We have seen a pattern with this administration, which is they don't believe in science. And Joe's plan is about saying we're going to deal with it, but we're also going to create jobs. Donald Trump, when asked about the wildfires in California, and the question was, you know, the science is telling us this, you know what Donald Trump said? Science doesn't know. So let's talk about who is prepared to lead our country over the course of the next 4 years on what is an existential threat to us as human beings. Joe is about saying we're going to invest that in renewable energy. It's going to be about the creation of millions of jobs. We will achieve net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan.
Do voters have a right to know more detailed health information?
Both the candidates skirted around some of the key issues and did not answer questions that were uncomfortable.
Blacks and women.
Now they'd like to know if you and Joe Biden are going to pack the Supreme Court if you don't get your way in this nomination.
Let's talk about packing.
You once again gave a non-answer. Joe Biden gave a non-answer.
Trying to answer you now.
The American people deserve a straight answer. And if you haven't figured it out yet, the straight answer is they are going to pack the Supreme Court.
If Vice President Biden is declared the winner and President Trump refuses to accept a peaceful transfer of power, what would be your role and responsibility as Vice President?
So I think we're going to win this election. I think we're going to win this election. We know we're going to have confidence in it. And I believe in all my heart that President Donald Trump's going to be reelected for 4 more years.
Kamala Harris broke another glass ceiling by taking the stage as the first Black and South Asian woman, and she seemed to be using it to her advantage.
The President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
Not true.
And
not true.
It wasn't like he didn't have a chance. He didn't do it, and then he doubled down. And then he said, when pressed, stand back, stand by. And this is a part of a pattern of Donald Trump's.
He condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so repeatedly you're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American people.
Donald Trump, who's in court right now.
Harris was well prepared and meticulous. Mike Pence showed his ability to stay calm and defended his boss's record over coronavirus response, race relations, and other aspects.
That he's going to repeal the Trump tax cut.
So who won the debate? That depends because both sides instantly claimed victory.
COVID-19 has been a challenge for world leaders across the globe. How they handled the crisis and worked under pressure in unprecedented times is how their people will remember them, more so when it is an election year. In America, COVID-19 has become one of the most crucial issues for the race to the White House. Here's a report on how Republican Trump campaigns around it and how Biden from the Democratic Party challenges it.
I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it. This was a blessing in disguise. I caught it. I heard about this drug. I said, let me take it. It was my suggestion. I said, let me take it. And it was incredible the way it worked. Incredible. And I think if I didn't catch it, we'd be looking at that like a number of other drugs. But it really did a fantastic job. I want to get for you what I got, and I'm going to make it free. You're not going to pay for it.
2 days after the U.S. President Donald Trump was discharged from Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, he recorded this message in the Rose Garden of White House and posted it on Twitter. President Donald Trump and most of his staff tested COVID positive right after the first presidential debate held on 29th October. Trump and his team, including the First Lady, were spotted without masks during the event. Donald Trump even mocked his opponent for his use of masks in the debate.
I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I wear masks when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
Once the U.S. president was admitted in the hospital and administered experimental antibody therapy from Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, within 2 days he took a car ride to assure his people that he was on the path of recovery, a move severely criticized by the medical fraternity. On his return to White House, he took his mask off while greeting people from the balcony. The U.S. president has also been criticized for his attempts to play down the seriousness of the situation. His opponent, Joe Biden, the Democrat presidential candidate, made it a point to push COVID safety measures with more clarity.
We can save 100,000 lives in the next 100 days, according to the head of the CDC, if everyone wears a mask in public. So be patriotic. It's not about being a tough guy. It's about doing your part. Wearing a mask is not only going to protect you, but it also protects those around you.
On Tuesday, 6th October, the president put out a social media post claiming that COVID-19 was less lethal than flu. Facebook deleted it, while Twitter put a warning about the tweet, spreading misleading and potentially harmful information. But the president later retweeted it from the official account of the U.S. president.
I should say it was not done according to what I would have recommended. I mean, what you saw there in the White House, I don't know if you saw sometime that picture from above of everybody crowded together with no masks. I think people would ask that. If you can't be protected in a bubble type setting in the White House, how can you expect to be protected in a somewhat similar bubble situation outside?
While the U.S. still remains the #1 country with the maximum number of COVID infections, the Trump administration initially tried to underplay its fatal effect. There's a section of U.S. voters who are not happy with the way their president has behaved.
The fact that he totally disregarded everything that science and, his medical advisors said to do and the American people should do, and to see his rallies in the Rose Garden, there were very few masks, there. So it's just disheartening to say, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it, because people should worry about it.
It wasn't his fault that the coronavirus happened, of course, and the situation we're in now, but I think he could have, there were so many opportunities for him to make us all feel comfortable in this crazy, COVID environment.
And here are some other stories that made news through the week in World at a Glance.
Russia moved to stop the worst escalation of fighting in the separatist region of Nagorno-Karabakh. On 9th October, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met foreign ministers of Azerbaijan and Armenia. Armenia said it's open to holding a ceasefire, while Azerbaijan has made a potential truce conditional on the Armenian forces' withdrawal from Nagorno-Karabakh. The latest outburst of fighting between Azerbaijani and Armenian forces began on September 27 and marked the biggest escalation of decades-old conflict over Nagorno-Karabakh. The Kyrgyz president ordered a nearly 2-week state of emergency in the capital on Friday, 9th October, to end the ongoing political turmoil. But protesters still came out in force in the Kyrgyzstani city of Toktogul. The demonstrators demand the president to step down over a disputed parliamentary election. Protesters stormed government buildings the night after Sunday's parliamentary vote, which was reportedly swept by pro-government parties. Indonesia erupted in violent protests on 8th October against the new labor law passed on Monday. Thousands of enraged students and workers criticized the new law as an attempt to cripple labor rights and harm the environment. Clashes broke out in Jakarta between rock-throwing demonstrators and riot police. As police fired tear gas to disperse the crowd, protesters fought back, hurling rocks and bottles. Even after a week-long protest, the Indonesian president refuses to repeal the controversial law. On 6th October, review hearing of death row prisoner Kulbhushan Yadav, Islamabad High Court said India has failed to appoint a counsel to represent Kulbhushan Yadav, the death row prisoner. Pakistani defense counsels chosen by Islamabad High Court have refused to appear for Kulbhushan Yadav. India requested that Yadav be represented by an Indian lawyer or the Queen's Counsel. But Pakistan Foreign Office's spokesperson has rejected both. The hearing has now been adjourned till November 9th. Spain declared a state of emergency in Madrid on Friday, 9th October, as the region is experiencing one of Europe's most significant coronavirus outbreak. The step became effective immediately and is set to last for 2 weeks. This brings back restrictions on travel. Earlier, the national government removed the restrictions and a Madrid court ruled against it on 8th October.
The world is waking up to a post-COVID reality that will put many countries on the brink of financial crisis. Amid that, the instability and challenges being caused by China is a worry for all. While Beijing is trying to protect her own interests, in doing so, she's using this crisis as an opportunity. But there are other countries like India, Japan, the United States of America, and Australia that came together this week in the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue to secure their economic and strategic interests, and in doing so, they've also worked out a plan to create supply chain resilience to counter China. The second Quad meeting of the foreign ministers of Australia, India, Japan and the US took place on October 6th in Tokyo. In the first international conference held in Japan after the COVID outbreak, the participating countries focused on how to counter an assertive China in the Indo-Pacific region.
As vibrant and pluralistic democracies with shared values, our nations have affirmed collectively the importance of maintaining a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. We remain committed to upholding the rules-based international order underpinned by the rule of law, transparency, freedom of navigation in international seas, and respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty and peaceful resolution of disputes.
With tensions in the South China and East China Seas, the focus of the Quad nations has become strengthening the global East. Support for ASEAN unity and centrality, as well as full support for the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific.
Australia is achieving this vision in our engagement across the Indo-Pacific by working closely with ASEAN, by stepping up with the Pacific, including supporting regional institutions such as the Pacific Islands Forum.
The big takeaways of the Quad meeting were post-COVID international order, resilient supply chain initiative, free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific, common vision for the Indo-Pacific, support to ASEAN centrality, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, maritime safety and security, health security, and counter-terrorism. After the pandemic, the Quad now sees the need to strengthen the alliance, and therefore there have been conversations to hold the Quad military exercises along the lines of the already existing trilateral Malabar exercises between India, Japan and the US. Meanwhile, the biggest elephant in the room remained unaddressed. Will Australia be a part of the next military exercises? There are trilateral exercises that take place between Japan, India and the United States of America. Sources say a formal announcement to include Australia and make it a quadrilateral military exercise is unlikely at this point. While talks concluded, the decision to hold the military exercise of the Quad has still not been firmed up. The Chinese have been sending signals of warning should the Quad try to become a cohesive alliance and force to counter China in the region.
China fulfilling its right to self-preservation and self-defense entitled in international law. It is within China's sovereignty, legitimate, reasonable and lawful. It has nothing to do with militarization. It is the same with other countries. US military aircraft and vessels conduct frequent activities in the South China Sea with military drills and close-range reconnaissance activities, flexing of muscles that deliberately heighten the tensions in the South China Sea.
The three visiting foreign ministers, along with Japanese Foreign Minister Motegi, called on the new Prime Minister of Japan, Suga Yoshihide. Dr. Abdullah's visit to India is significant. The chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation in Afghanistan was also in Pakistan in the end of September. Kabul is trying to reach out to her neighbors to ensure that the intra-Afghan talks and the Afghan peace process is a success. Although India was never a part of the negotiations that took place ahead of the talks that have started between the Afghan government and the Taliban, Afghanistan has always considered India an important partner, and here is why. A relationship that goes beyond development partnership. India stood for what Afghanistan always wanted, an Afghan-led and Afghan-owned process, one that allows this war-torn nation dignified, durable and sustainable peace.
On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, I can assure our friends here that we are fully determined and committed for a peaceful settlement, because as I mentioned in the inaugural speech in Doha, there is no military solution, there is no winner in a war, and there is no loser in inclusive, peaceful settlement. That's the opportunity in front of us.
During the meetings, particularly with the Indian Prime Minister, Modi reaffirmed India's long-term commitment to further deepening the historical ties, in keeping with the government's policy of neighborhood first. But this also comes at a time when the US President, through a tweet, announced complete withdrawal of troops by December, which could have consequences on security. Any instability in Afghanistan will directly impact the security situation in India. That was part of the discussions Abdullah had with NSA Doval and External Affairs Minister Jaishankar. The much-awaited Nobel Prize was announced one by one this week. The award comes with a gold medal and prize money of 10 million Swedish krona, which amounts to a little over $1.1 million. The 2020 Nobel Prizes kicked off on October 5th with the naming of winners in the field of physiology and medicine. Harvey J. Alter, Michael Houghton and Charles M. Rice are the recipient of Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for this year for the discovery of hepatitis C virus.
2020 Nobel Prize in Physics.
A day later, Nobel for Physics was announced, and this time one half of it goes to Roger Penrose, University of Oxford, for the discovery that black hole formation is a robust prediction of the general theory of relativity, while the other half goes jointly to German physicist Reinhard Genzel and American physicist Andrea Ghez for the discovery of a supermassive compact object at the center of our galaxy. On the 7th of October, Emmanuel Carpentier of France and Jennifer Doudna of the United States of America created history by winning the Chemistry Nobel. This is the first time a Nobel Science Prize has gone to a women-only team. American poet Louise Gluck won the 2020 Nobel Prize for Literature on the 8th of October. She is the fourth woman to win a Nobel Prize this year.
Nobel Peace Prize for 2020 to the World Food Programme.
The Nobel Peace Prize this year goes to the World Food Programme. Its efforts to combat hunger and to prevent its use as a weapon in war and conflict is the reason for this achievement. That's all in this edition of World Today. But before I go, 8th October marks the 80th birth anniversary of John Lennon, who was killed in the year 1980, 40 years ago, while he was walking back home with his wife Yoko Ono. When the world is celebrating World Food Programme and honouring the program and the organization for fighting and combating hunger, I leave you with the song Imagine, imagining a world free of hunger and free of greed. Take care and goodbye.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.